Hello, everybody, and welcome to this channel. My name is Charles. I am an English home language teacher, and I've been teaching for the past 5 years. And I've been wanting to start this channel for the longest time. Many matric students have asked me and have been encouraging me to start this, and so finally, um, I have started this channel. And my goal is just to share some of the skills with the grade 12 learners across the country and to help them understand the poetry syllabus better and also how to answer the questions in the exam. So part 2 of this video, we will go through past exam questions and I will show you how to answer the question. I think most of the time it's not that the students don't know the content, it's more so how do they answer the questions, especially when it's a 3-mark question. But nonetheless, we'll get to that in part 2 of the video. And moreover, I've started this video to also help, or started this channel to also help the teachers around South Africa. There are many novice teachers and maybe experienced teachers. They can also learn. I hope they will learn a lot from this channel. Yeah, a little bit more about myself. I'm presently completing my Master's in Creative Writing degree at the University of Cape Town. And I write short stories, non-fiction essays, poetry, and plays. Presently, I'm completing my first novel, and that's a little bit of self-promotion. So hopefully when you are done watching this video, you can go check out some of my work, which I suppose I can also leave the links of my work in the description box below. So, An African Thunderstorm by David Rubadiri. For now, I'm just going to jump right into the poem, and we will leave some of the background information on the poet later on in this video, but we'll get to that soon. So, I hope you guys can see it's quite small, but nonetheless, here goes. So, An African Thunderstorm. From the west, clouds come hurrying with the wind, turning sharply here and there like a plague of locusts, whirling, tossing up things on its tail like a madman chasing nothing. Pregnant clouds ride stately on its back, gathering to perch on hills like dark sinister wings. The wind whistles by, and trees bend to let it pass. In the village, screams of delighted children toss and turn. In the din of the whirling wind, women, babies clinging on their backs, dart about in and out madly. The wind whistles by, whilst the trees bend to let it pass. Clothes wave like tattered flags, flying off to expose dangling breasts as the jagged, blinding flashes rumble, tremble, and crack amidst the smell of fired smoke and the pelting march of the storm. So guys, the first thing I want you to understand that this poem can be interpreted literally and figuratively. So we're first going to go over the literal meaning of the poem. I'm going to go over the line-by-line analysis now, and more importantly, and I will reiterate this at a later stage, please don't mix your literal interpretation of the poem with the figurative interpretation of the poem. So what do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, in line 1, the speaker is saying, just go to it. The speaker says, or refers to a certain idea. Don't mix it up, the literal and the figurative, right? So I'm just going to read from the slide now. The speaker describes how a destructive storm is about to approach the village. So we're looking at the summary of the poem. In the first 2 stanzas, as the storm is approaching, the speaker reveals the effects of the natural elements of the storm. Right? So we're looking at the weather and, for example, the wind and the clouds. Thereafter, in the last stanza, the speaker reveals the impact the storm has on the people within the village. The more the storm intensifies, the more powerful and destructive the storm becomes. Okay, so from the west, clouds come hurrying with the wind. I'm just going to pop up all the analysis. So, What does the speaker mean here in these lines? The speaker refers to the direction the wind is coming from the west, meaning where is the wind coming from? Okay, this is also can be considered as personification because clouds come hurrying with the wind. Now, personification, when we give human characteristics to inanimate objects or non-living things, so we know that clouds are not humans, right? They're not living. So how can a cloud be hurrying, like running? How is that possible, right? So in this line, the speaker is just referring to the quick motion of how the clouds are moving across the sky. Okay, next line, turning sharply here and there. Okay, so you will notice that the lines move from longer lines to one-worded lines, right? So here it's turning sharply. Those are one-worded lines. And why does the speaker do this? Right? So this emphasizes the wild and unpredictability of the wind and its movement, right? So if I just go back quickly one slide, look at the length of line number 2. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, right? And now in the next 2 lines, it's one word lines, right? So longer lines, shorter lines, okay? So the wind comes fast over the sky. It's also unpredictable, right? Here and there. And that refers to the clouds being scattered across the sky. There's a little bit of cloud here and a little bit of clouds over there. So the clouds are scattered over the sky. It's here and there. So remember, at this stage, the clouds and the wind, it's not covering all of the atmosphere. It's just like a little bit of little pieces of clouds, if I can put it like that. Okay, what does a locust look like? Think of a grasshopper. Okay, so that's a picture of a locust. And now picture many locusts flying across the sky. Right, so check that picture out. And then we make the comparisons between the two. What is a plague of locusts and why does the speaker compare to a sky or the clouds? Right, so think of a plague of locusts. If you look on the left side, it's like a group of a vast number of locusts and they cover the sky, and the speaker compares that image to the picture on the right of dark clouds. Okay, and let's look at our next line. Excuse me. Like a plague of locusts. Right? So locusts are pest insects that invade crops on farms, right? And they cause serious agricultural damage, right? So we know that locusts will attack a crop and they will eat away at the crop, and this is not obviously ideal for farmers. Right? Plague refers to a large number of insects or animals infesting on a place and causing damage. But the plague also refers to a bacterial disease that is highly infectious. So we see the word like here, so we know it's a simile, right? So the speaker is comparing the storm that is widespread all over the sky, it's darkening the sky, to a plague of locusts, right? Because like I said, a plague of locusts is a vast group of locusts that overwhelms the landscape and it is an unstoppable force. So that farmer who's planting his crops and all of those things, he unfortunately can't stop the locusts. And then the simile continues into whirling, tossing up things on its tail like a madman chasing nothing. Okay? So the speaker compares the wind that is unpredictable, out of control, to a madman, a crazy person that is dangerous and unpredictable as well. Okay? In other words, the wind is bringing a lot of chaos and disruption to the village. Right? Whirling, tossing up things on its tail like a madman chasing nothing. So picture some crazy person running in the street chasing nothing. The speaker compares the wind to that, right? So the wind, it's like in the road or in the village and it's just blowing about, chasing nothing. Okay, so now, pregnant clouds ride stately on its back. Okay, personification. The speaker compares the clouds that are heavy, round in shape, and full of rain to a pregnant woman. So look at the picture on the left and the picture on the right. Right? Check how round the cloud is, and check how round the woman's belly is. Right? So just as a woman is about to give birth, right? This cloud is going to give birth to rain. Right? The cloud is full, and it's going to burst open, and it's going to give life to rain, if you want to put it like that. Then it continues, the words right stately suggest that the clouds use the wind to help them gather their forces like royalty would gather an army to wreak havoc on an enemy. Right? So the clouds are gathering up, right? And they ride stately on its back, right? Just to think of like army men, right? And royalty, right? So they are gathering and they ride on a horse's back. So the same, the clouds are also doing that. Okay, they're gathering together and they're going to wreak havoc. Think of like an army about to attack. Okay, just want to press exit quickly and just double check that we are still recording. Okay, yes we are. Okay, gathering to perch on hills like dark sinister wings. Okay, another simile there. We see the word like, it's a simile. Okay, so the clouds are perched, suggesting that they are an unstoppable force hovering and menacing over an area, gathering to perch on hills like dark, sinister wings. So the clouds are gathering above and around the hill, and picture like a bird that's about to attack, right? So the clouds are compared to dark, sinister wings. What has wings? Birds, obviously. So what does the word sinister tell us? Right? This depicts something that is evil, frightening, and destructive. It's ominous. What does ominous mean? Something evil is about to happen. The speaker compares the darkness of the clouds in the sky to a black bird. We presume it's a crow that is about to attack its prey. Sorry, there's a mistake there. Might as well fix it quickly. Right, to attack its prey. Waiting as its attack its prey as it is waiting for the opportunity to attack. Okay. Sorry, I don't know what's up with the grammar here. Okay. So I'll just take that out. Okay, sorry about that, viewers. Okay, by comparing the clouds to a bird of prey, the reader is aware of the ominous and threatening image that the storm will bring to the village. Okay, so now picture this. You are standing in the village, right? And you look up to the hill, and behind the hill, or on top of the hill, there are a whole lot of clouds, dark clouds gathering, right? Now look at the picture now. Picture you are standing, you're looking up, and there are a whole lot of birds, like a group of birds, right? Crows hovering above you, and they are perched and they look like they are ready to attack you, right? So that's an ominous feeling there, right? You feel like, oh my word, something bad is going to happen. So keep that at the back of your head when you read this line. Okay. The wind whistles by and trees bend to let it pass. Now, what is the relationship between the wind and the trees, right? So the trees are submissive. They allow the wind to pass over them or through them. The wind whistles by and the trees bend to let it pass. The trees are bowing down towards the wind. The wind is seen as the dominant and powerful figure. We also know that this is alliteration, the W sound. So if you had to say "wah" for wind and "wah" for whistles, right? Why? So think about this. Don't just think that alliteration is used for the fun of it. Right? The wind whistles by. Right? Why did the poet use those two specific words? The wind whistles by. Right? The speaker didn't say the wind passes by or the wind flies by, he says whistles by. So it's that w sound and that w sound. Okay, so it's a hard W sound, and this conveys the strong and powerful sound that the wind as it speeds by. So if you had to continuously make that w sound, that w w w, right, and if it's that sound of that sound, that W sound, okay, and that you can, when you read it, when you say the wind whistles by, you can kind of get that feeling of how strong and powerful the wind is, right? Okay, and the sound is so strong and overpowering that it can be described as deafening. Okay, however, in this village, the screams of delighted children toss and turn in the din of the whirling wind. Now, check the picture out there of the kids smiling and laughing. Now, if you're a little child and you see the weather changing and you see the clouds coming and you hear the wind, the children are excited there, right? And if you go further down, toss and turn, that's um, another alliteration. But now we're looking at assonance. So assonance would be the opposite of alliteration. If you look at this particular line at the end, in the din of the whirling wind, it's the I sound, it's the I sound, it's the in, din, whirling, wind. It's the I sound, okay? So the repetition of the sharp I sound reinforces the idea that the children are screaming loudly. In the din of the whirling wind, din is a noise, right? So it's that I sound, that sharp sound the whole time. So repeat that the whole time, I the whole time, okay? And in whirling wind, there's another alliteration. So it's the I sound, it's the sharp I sound, and the hard W sound mixing together, whirling together, right? So the children are listening to these sounds. Okay. So once again, we have the repetition of the hard W sound. Okay, let's continue. Babies clinging on their backs, right? Dash, dart in about, dart about in and out madly. Okay. The mothers in the village are carrying babies on their backs. However, why are they doing that? Okay. So the mothers dart about in and out madly. Babies clinging on their backs, right? So don't get confused there. It's not the babies that are darting about, checking up and down, looking around. It's the mothers. The mothers are anxious, they are frantic because they anticipate the destruction that the storm will bring. They have to protect their possessions and they have to protect their children. Excuse me. And they feel okay, they know that the storm is going to bring destruction, so mothers are protectors, right? So they are protecting. The wind whistles by again. Why is this line repeated? So the use of the repetition of the wind whistles by emphasizes the importance and the dominance of the wind. We know this is a highly powerful and strong wind that is passing through the village. Okay, it's also capital letter of the W, right? And this suggests the unique and different form other winds from, sorry. So yes, there has been wind in this village before, and we can also say that we've all experienced wind if you think about when you walk outside and the wind that blows you. But this wind, it's got a capital letter, right? So this is a different wind, right? So the villagers haven't experienced this type of weather before. Okay, it's highly intensified, this wind. Okay. Okay, and again, trees bend to let it pass. Why is that being repeated? That same idea of the relationship between the wind and the trees. The wind is strong and powerful, that everything in the wind's path makes way for it. Right? So nobody's standing up to the wind, the rest of nature, they allow the wind to pass through it. Right? And the repetition of the trees bent to let it pass emphasizes one of the central ideas of the poem, one of the themes, which is the destruction of invasion. Okay, so now clothes wave like tattered flags, broken flags, flying off to expose dangling breasts. That's a simile. The wind is so strong that it causes the villagers' clothing to blow and move, and the speaker compares the clothing of these villagers, right, to the waving of a flag. But this flag is considered to be tattered, so the material is broken. As jagged, blinding flashes rumble, tremble, and crack, onomatopoeia, rumble evokes the low sounds of the thunder rolling, right? Crack gives us a sense of suddenness and the loud sound of the lightning strike. So, think about the slow build up to the storm, right? We've got the clouds and the wind, right, and how it gathered up and it covered the sky. But now, finally, we get the sense of lightning, right, and the sense that the storm has finally approached. How do we know that? Through the words blinding flashes, we see the lightning, the rumble, tremble, and crack, and the different sounds. Okay, there's a sense of rhythm as well. In the last two lines of the poem, the rhythm slows down to 8 syllables each to show that the steady, incessant pouring of the rain. Okay, I wouldn't say that that is way too much of importance in the analysis, but let's continue. Okay, so back again to rumble, tremble, and crack. We know that it refers to the sound that the thunder makes and how the sound is reverberating through the air. So this conveys the ferocity and violence of the storm. And then once again, just to reiterate, I have mentioned this now earlier, jagged blinding flashes suggest the sharp, intense bursting of lightning. Amidst the smell of the fired smoke, so we have all our senses are being evoked. So we got the sense of the sound, rumble, tremble, clap, and then just go back quickly, jagged blinding flashes. We saw the thunder. Now we're getting the smell of the smoke. Okay, so the thunder creates fire and smoke. So, once again, throughout the poem, the speaker describes the build-up of the storm, and the reader anticipates the final eruption of the storm that the storm will bring. Okay, the smell of fired smoke suggests the lingering pungency of the wood that is burning in the village, either from it being set alight by the lightning or from the cooking of fires that are smoldering after being put out in the rain. So either the lightning struck on wood and now it's burning, or the villagers were cooking and with the rain and the wind, that fire is put out, right? But the smell is still lingering in the village. Okay, amidst the smell of smoke, the pelting march of the storm. So the storm is being compared to marching, right? Just like an army that marches, and they are going to bring destruction. Okay, so guys, the figurative meaning of the poem. So, remember I said keep your literal and figurative interpretation of this poem separate as well as your notes for those of you who are taking down notes. Okay, so context of this poem. So we know that David Rubadiri was from Malawi. So obviously this poem's context would be in Malawi. So, but let's take a step back quickly. What is colonization? Because in order to understand what the storm is, we need to know that the figurative meaning of this poem is colonization. And colonization is defined as the action or process of one country settling among the indigenous people of a different area or a different country, and they establish control of that particular area. They control the people of that area, as well as the resources of that area. Why is this important in the context of this poem? So, the part of Africa that we know as Malawi um, was settled back then in the 10th century by different Bantu groups. So, who are these ethnic groups? There are 10 major ethnic groups: the Chewa and Nyanja, Lomwe. I profusely apologize if I'm mispronouncing these tribal names. And then later on, centuries later, in 1891, the area was colonized by the British, right? And it was known as Nyasa land. I hope I'm also saying that correctly. So that if you look on top, the British colonized that area, right? However, later on, Nyasa land became independent from Britain on the 6th of July, and it is now known as Malawi. Okay, so now we're going to look at the poem once again, but we are going to look at the figurative meaning of each line. Okay, so from the west, clouds come hurrying with the wind. So the speaker refers to Western culture, Western civilization, which is European civilization and its heritage, social norms, ethical values, traditional customs. Sorry, I don't know why that word is like that. Customs and religious belief system and political system. So from the west, Western civilization came to colonize this particular country in Africa. That is what the speaker is saying in those lines. So we know in this context that Europe or different European countries colonized various different African countries. Okay, hurrying refers to the quickness of colonization. I mean, just like that, the villagers saw, yeah, people are coming. Okay, tossing up things on its tail, the destruction of colonization caused havoc for African villages. Things were tossing up. In other words, there was a lot of confusion for the indigenous villagers. So picture this: they're seeing people with different skin tones, different um, attire coming in the village with their guns and their horses and all these different things, right? And for them, it's like tossing up things on its tail. It's like, what is going on? They are so confused. Rides stately on its back. Okay, I'm not sure why a different poems analysis is here. So rides stately on its back. So there's a sense of haughtiness, and whilst these colonizers are riding on the backs of the horses, right? So they are riding into the village, they are riding stately, right? So they are kind of proud and haughty, and they are about to cause destruction here in this village. Gathering to perch on hills like dark, sinister winds. So we know that the word sinister once again depicts the evil and frightening and destructive, right? So as these colonizers are coming towards the village, right, they are depicted as being sinister, right? So in this context, picture the colonizers coming over the hill, gathering there, and they are also about to attack the village, just like dark, sinister birds would do. It is evident that the act of colonization is evil and that those that were colonized were treated inhumanely. The wind whistles by to let trees bend to let it pass. Again, this line is repeated. Why? So in this context, right, the repetition of the trees to bend to let it pass. Okay, sorry guys, I don't know what's going on here with my notes. Okay, I just fixed it now. Okay, so in this context, the figurative meaning is the destruction of colonization, right? So the villagers now, in this context, it's not the trees that are bending down, it's actually the villagers, right? Or we can say the villagers and the trees are now being submissive towards the colonizers, right? In the village, screams of delighted children. So the children are screaming and they are excited. Remember, colonizers are now in the village. So this is the first time that they are seeing um, people with different features than to what they are accustomed to. So they are obviously excited. So the mothers are now darting in and out madly, right? The mothers are obviously frantic and anxious. They see the colonizers. They worry for their husbands, their children, themselves, because the colonizers, the men that are there, are obviously a threat to the village. Clothes wave like tattered flags. So this image reveals, right, how the colonizers have caused destruction in the land, or are going to cause destruction in the land, right? The women's clothes are compared to broken flags, just as the village is now destroyed due to colonization, right? So the flag of this nation, or the flag of this village, right, it's now broken. The identities are destroyed. Okay? The flag is broken and tattered because the village or existing land that the people belong to, the indigenous people, right? It's no longer there's no longer togetherness there. There's no longer the sense of I belong here. They've lost their identities. Flying off to expose dangling bliss. Previously, the villagers had dignity and pride towards their land and their customs. However, due to colonization, this is all destroyed. Right? So this is an effective image. Why? Right? Because the women are exposed, the villagers are violated, they have lost their rights. Amidst the smell of the fired smoke and pelting of the march of the storm, ultimately, can you think of many ways that the storm can be compared to colonization? Right? Why was colonization so destructive? What are some of the effects that occurred in modern Africa, or are occurring in modern Africa due to colonization? So we as Africans, we feel that there are still many effects that are prevalent in our society today due to colonization. Right? And think about South Africa as well. Okay, let's look at the structure of the poem. So the poem has three stanzas, three different paragraphs. Think of stanzas as paragraphs. And within those different paragraphs, there are different stanzas, there are different lengths. And this poem is written in free verse. Why? What does that mean? There's no set structure or rhyme scheme in this poem. Right? Throughout the poem, there is a variation between the length of lines, which are covered in the beginning. So, why did the poet use that? Right? When the reader reads the short lines, the pace of the reading is increased. So, think of when you read the short words, there's a sense of enjambment. The one word flows into the other. It's not one long sentence. It's one word on the line. Okay, so this is used to convey the chaos caused by the wind. Right? There are lines with one word, just as I've stated before, and this emphasizes that the wind and clouds are wild and unpredictable in its movement, and it emphasizes the suddenness of the impending storm. It is as if there is not enough time for the poet to write full lines, quick nature. Right? And this adds to the sense of urgency. The irregular lines in stanza 1, meaning the different lines, reveal the unpredictability of the wind. The short lines convey the gusting and swirling actions of the wind, whereas the longer lines focus on the long lasting speed and destruction caused by the wind. At first, the clouds are scattered across the sky, just as the one worded lines are sporadic. Remember, I said here and there are clouds at the beginning, were not covered over the sky, it was scattered around, right? It was sporadic. However, towards the end of the poem, the lines become longer. This reveals that the destruction of the storm and colonization is now prevalent in the village. Central message, themes, and central idea. What is the intention of this poem? What is the purpose of this poem? What is the central idea? The intention of the poet in writing this poem would be to highlight the destruction caused by the unfair and unwanted invasion, right, which is caused by colonization. So think of that at the back of your mind. Okay, grade 12s and to the teachers watching, thank you for watching this video and to listen to me. In part 2, we will go over the exam questions of this poem. Don't forget to add a like to this video, especially if you are watching on Instagram. My hope is to post this on Instagram as well. please leave a comment for me in the comment section. Maybe is it something that you still don't understand, or um, just any comments about this video and how I explained, and if you understand better. Right? Please share. Don't forget to share this link, the video link, to those who are in need or perhaps don't understand this poem, and you can share this with your friends and to the different grade 12s in South Africa. Okay, thank you everybody. I'll see you now in part 2.